Welcome back to the Sports Sermon, our first one back since our brief retirement last summer. But I'm Dylan Saggy.
And I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we are back here for the first episode this summer of the Sports Sermon. So, today's topic, we will be diving in to the NBA Finals this year. A finals preview coming for you today.
Yeah, sounds about right. Finals are upcoming. It's the trilogy, the first time in NBA history. Warriors and Cavs. It should be a pretty good series, to say the least.
And 6 days from now, June 1st, will be Game 1. So our first question that we will be discussing today, have the playoffs so far been boring?
I'm going to go with an obvious yes. I think everyone can say, at least at some point, that the playoffs have not been what they usually were. Out of the 14, or now 16 series, 2 went to Game 7s, and both Game 7s were a joke. The one, and even to go off of that, I think if you look at the series, every single series that's happened has been chalk, which means like the higher seeds beating the lower seed, except for the Clippers and the Jazz. So if that's your argument, like if someone says, "Oh, the Clippers Jazz was a good series," I mean, sure, but in Game 1, Rudy Gobert goes down, Jazz best player, debatably him or Gordon Hayward. Then Gobert's constantly injured throughout the series. Oh, you look at the Clippers side, okay, should be a good series. Oh, Blake goes down. Game 7, okay, it's a great Game 7. Oh, it's a 13-point blowout or something like that. So throughout that entire series, it had the making to be a good series, but I felt like it just kept underwhelming, and that was kind of the story of the NBA playoffs. And then you go, okay, what about the Celtics and the Wizards? Okay, second round matchup, here we go. But there was no game that finished with under 10 points except for the one game where John Wall hit that clutch three. I mean, everything was 10 points or higher by the margin of victory by the team. So although it was Game 7 and went back and forth, I mean, the games weren't ever that close and it just got to be boring. So really to sum that up, I think it's a definite yes, the playoffs have been boring. I know myself, I watched the Celtics Wizards series, one game of the Clippers and Jazz, 2 games of the Warriors Trailblazers, and I think that's it because they've just been flat out blowouts, boring, and really not that exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. The 2 series that you said you mentioned they both went 7 games, but didn't feel that exciting. Another reason I don't think either of those felt very exciting is because both times it was for a right to play either the Cavs or the Warriors, who pretty much from the beginning of the playoffs, everyone could figure that they're going to just run through every team. So both series just kind of seemed like they had no point because they're just battling for the right to either get blown out by the Cavs or the Warriors, which in both times they did.
I feel like the Warriors and the Clippers would have put up better fights than the Jazz and the Celtics, in my opinion. I feel like the Warriors put up a better matchup against the Cavs.
The Wizards.
Wizards. Yeah, Wizards got a better matchup on the Cavs. You got John Wall versus Kyrie, which is an interesting matchup. And you got Bradley Beal. You've got Marcin Gortat. I mean, you've got a lot of different good players that could really. I don't think they would have won by any chance. I think they would have pulled out a game or two, though. And I just feel like the games would have been closer for sure. And then you look at the other side, the Jazz are a joke. Like, they're 1 or 2 years away from really competing. And so, but I feel like the Clippers, yeah, they're never going to get out of the second round, but they've got a good enough big three, I feel like, to put up competition with the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I do see that. Both teams probably could have taken a game or two, but I really don't see even that making the playoffs unboring if either of those teams would have won the series. Obviously, the Warriors and the Cavs coming into the finals with a combined 24-1 record, and I mean that's just ridiculous. And really, the Cavs shouldn't have lost that game versus the Celtics. LeBron had a bad game. Apparently, he was sick, according to Richard Jefferson. Whether you think that or not, he obviously had a bad game. Let up a little bit, but came back and rebounded and had a great Game 5. And the Cavs are in the finals with another blowout.
I mean, as we start to go into it, I would not. I'm going to say this as somewhat of a bold prediction. I would not be surprised if the finals were just as boring. I think that the Warriors have the potential. I don't think they will. Don't get me wrong. I do not think they will. But I think they could sweep the Cavs. I think they've just got so much talent, but we'll get into that later.
I think they have a better chance of sweeping the Cavs, but I don't think that it will happen by any means. We'll talk about it later. But one more thing on the playoffs being boring. Do you think there's any sort of solution that you could propose to make it less boring?
I mean, the only way I could see it is kind of what the NFL does. I've heard. I mean, I don't really know how it would all work out, but just putting like the best teams, but having it be by division instead of like just having like by conference by having it by like division, the division winners, and then like the wild card. I've seen that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there really is a solution. I think right now it's just a matter of LeBron and the Cavs are so much better than everybody in the East, and Golden State is so much better than everybody in the West that I don't know if there's any solution really for, especially at least just for this year. In general, maybe, but at the same time, I mean, you can think of countless great playoff series that are just have been so fun to watch. Where like I don't know if there's a need for a solution. I mean, it's just a matter of these teams are so good.
I still think there could be less teams in the playoffs. Like, I mean, you look at the 7 and 8 seeds in both conference, like the Pacers or the Bulls. The Pacers did actually put up the best fight versus the Cavs, but did they ever really have a chance of winning?
Yes.
The Bulls, they did have a chance versus
not winning the
the
series,
Celtics.
win a game.
Yeah, I think, but the Bulls did have a chance before beating the Celtics before Rondo went down, but obviously the Celtics should not have been the 1 seed. And then you look at 7 and 8 in the Western Conference, the Grizzlies and the Blazers. The Grizzlies put up a decent fight versus the Spurs, but again, we all knew that they weren't really going to win that, and even if they did, they weren't going to make it past another round. And the Blazers, I mean, outside of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, they have nobody to even have a chance of stacking up against the Warriors. So I think...
I get that for sure. I just feel like if you look at like some in the past, the 8-1s, the 2-7s, I mean, they've been decent matchups. And like, I don't know. I just feel like taking out those 7 and 8 teams gives teams less of a reason to play. Like, I mean, if you take off less playoff teams, you know how the NBA is trying to fix tanking. That's going to give them even more of an incentive to tanking. That I don't know. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Do I think the NBA will ever do it? And at least in the next few years, definitely not, because of the whole tanking thing they have going on right now.
I agree, but I think with the 7 and 8, you could kind of take them out of the lottery. Maybe less ping pong balls, less incentive to tank.
I get that.
But I think a NFL kind of sort of playoff would make first round games more meaningful and kind of take out the whole kind of blowout thing with the
You think it
ones
would?
and
You
two
think
seeds.
the Warriors and the Thunder would be that much better than the Warriors and the Blazers? I think the Blazers are a better team than the Thunder, in my opinion. And you look at it be the Spurs and the Jazz. I think the Grizzlies and Jazz are about equal. I don't know. That's just in the West. I feel like doesn't really do that much. You know what I mean?
I think the first round games could be more exciting, but I mean, it probably still wouldn't change the results of the playoffs or anything.
Yeah.
So, not too big a deal. But we saw from those boring playoffs, it has created a very exciting finals. Cavs versus Warriors, the rematch, the third time in a row. So, let's talk about some matchups in the finals. First, Curry versus Irving. What do you think about that?
Well, before we get into that, I mean, like you kind of said how it was kind of destined for the Cavs and Warriors to get in. I saw something a few days ago that coming into the playoffs, the Cavs were a 600-point odd. Like had favorable 600 odds to win the East, and the Warriors were 1,000-point favorites to win the West. And just to put that into perspective, the Patriots played the Browns last year, and those odds were 550. So you could kind of see from the beginning how much the Cavs and Warriors are just kind of destined to play, kind of leading in from that point of the finals being boring and how the Cavs and Warriors are kind of on that crash course to kind of play each other. I mean, even Las Vegas told you it was going to be kind of this way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all thought this throughout the playoffs, but it certainly, hopefully, will lead up to the hype. So, again, Curry versus Irving. Who do you think wins out in that matchup? Who has the advantage?
I mean, I don't think anybody can debate. Like, as you'll see, I'm more of a Warriors fan than a Cavs fan. Not to say I'm either fan. I just mean, like, if I had to pick one to root for, I'd pick the Warriors. But I don't think anybody can debate that Kyrie outplayed Steph Curry last finals. There's just not a debate there. Kyrie had more points, more assists, and just flat out played better by the eye test. But what some people seem to forget is that Kyrie and Curry, or Kyrie and Steph, that's kind of like a mess of words, don't really play each other that much, or guard each other that much. It's usually Clay on Kyrie and Steph on JR. And that's a testament to Clay for being such a great defender. He is a lockdown defender. Yes, Kyrie's going to score, and yes, Steph's going to score, but I think that Irving's definitely got the upper hand, but I don't know if there's that much of a matchup between Curry and Kyrie because Clay usually defends Kyrie.
Yeah, I see that, but I think on the offensive end, both of them kind of have a similar impact to the game. They both can really take over a game at any point, and I kind of think whoever does that more in the series, whichever one of them has more games where they just kind of take over and do their thing, score and win the game. I think that's really who's gonna win the series. That's, I think, the number one matchup to watch, honestly.
Really, yeah, I agree with that. I think there's both not matchup. I guess I think those players are gonna be interesting to watch
Yeah,
because you've seen Kyrie take a long time to get used to that finals atmosphere the last 2 years. I mean, he got hurt in 2015 if I remember correctly, and then last year he started off slow, then exploded. I think for the Cavs side of it, Kyrie's got to come off playing right out of the gate, start playing like Kyrie Irving. And for Steph, he cannot be washed up by Kyrie or JR, whoever's guarding him. He's got to be able to get his shot despite how many other great scorers they have. Curry's got to be on it in order for the Warriors to win.
Yeah, I definitely agree, but I think Kyrie, obviously him stepping up in the finals last year, but also you saw his third quarter in Game 5 against the Celtics. That man was ridiculous. He was doing whatever he wanted, and no one even had a shot at stopping him. If he does that in the finals, I don't think there's any way the Cavs can lose.
Yeah, and going back to your point, I mean, with how they both have the opportunity to take over a game. Curry did that against the Spurs in that game one. They started off slow. Kawhi goes down. Curry turns it on, and right back, just like that, they're right back in it. So I think both, like you said, both players have the potential to turn it on.
All right, and another matchup we're gonna go into: LeBron versus KD. What do you think?
Well, goes back to 2012, Oklahoma City versus Miami Heat. KD was a little young. LeBron definitely more experienced. I mean, by a pure numbers stance from last year, LeBron had an unbelievable finals of 29.7, so basically 30 points a game, 11 boards, and 9 assists, basically. That's phenomenal for the finals. And you look at KD against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, because obviously he was on the Thunder then. He had 38 and 3. So, I mean, numbers-wise, I don't think it really matters. I think this will be the best matchup. Like you said, like Kyrie and Steph, I think pure matchup wise, it's got to be either this or something I'll get into later, LeBron versus Draymond. But I think if you look at LeBron and KD, both will get their points. I think KD will be their leading scorer and LeBron will be their leading scorer 5 out of the 7 games if it goes to 7. I think majority of the games will be LeBron and KD getting their points. The thing that I think is going to be interesting to watch is who gets more defeated by the spotlight, whether it's playing in the finals. I think that has the potential for it to get to KD is him being in the finals and not really being used to that atmosphere and all that. But I also think for LeBron, I think he's got the potential to try to take over too much. And, I mean, if you look at pure stars, 4 beats 1 every time. So I think that's an interesting matchup to watch, to not only who's going to play better, but who's going to play worse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think both of these players have had just insane playoffs so far. LeBron averaging 32.5 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.4 blocks, and 2.2 steals so far in the playoffs. And Durant obviously doesn't get as many shots because he's on the Warriors, but he's averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, including a great performance in the series against San Antonio with 28-7 and 2 blocks, shooting 60%. So I think this matchup, it's definitely going to be more volume, I think, than Curry versus Irving. Like you said, both of them are going to get their shots. I think, really, it's KD on offense versus LeBron on defense. That's going to be the really big one to watch because if LeBron stops KD, I mean, he's really one of the only guys on the Warriors that can get their own shot. Clay's more of a spot-up shooter. Draymond's not really going to get his own shot. And Curry, he dances around the perimeter a lot, but it's kind of inconsistent when he can get his own shot. So if LeBron shuts down KD, I think that presents really an easy time for the Cavs on defense stopping the Warriors.
The only thing I'd say about that is if you watch the Warriors play, the way they run their offense, to dumb it down, it's basically screens, off-ball movement, and passing. That's literally all it is. It's just different screens, different moving, and then hitting the guy that's open. It's a lot of read and react. So with that, yes, LeBron could lock down KD, literally be up on him, get rid of his airspace. Great. But J.R. Smith is not able to hang with Steph or Clay, and that's something I think that the Warriors need to take advantage of, is find those mismatches. Whether it's KD, if it gets switched onto having JR. I mean, that should be an easy one. It's all those switching they do on screens. If the Cavs switch, that's when the Warriors are going to get is going to make their money, is if they can get a good matchup, whether it's Durant on JR or Steph on JR, or really, like, any of those guys that are weaker defenders, even Kevin Love. If they can get KD on Kevin Love, boy, watch out. Like, I think the Warriors got so many options where anyone that switches is going to be a problem. I think if the Cavs were able to stay these people and these people, and there was no switching, I think, like you said, it could be definitely hard for the Warriors to get their offense. But because the way their offense works, where you're getting screened after screen after screen, that takes a toll on you, so you begin to start switching. With that switching becomes mismatches, and that's where the Warriors get their bread and butter.
Yeah, I think definitely the switching helps matchups. If they can get KD on anybody else besides LeBron, he's going to get his own shot. But I think if LeBron is able to stick on KD and KD starts missing some shots, losing confidence, I think it could be some trouble for the Warriors on the offensive side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all going to come down to the matchups, individual matchups, as well as just who comes out to play.
And moving into our last kind of matchup that we'll cover, Draymond Green versus Kevin Love. Now, they might not always guard each other depending on whether Draymond guards Kevin Love or LeBron, but who do you think has the upper hand in these kind of power forwards?
Well, as a Draymond fan, I'm obviously going to say Draymond, but I mean, if you look at the number standpoint, he averaged 17, 10, and 6 in the finals last year. Kevin Love, who I think we all remember was less than good in the finals last year, was 6, 5, and 1. I mean, Draymond, I would say, is the leader that, I mean, now he's in that attention, but even like last year and the year before, he's that guy that was kind of really flying under the radar but got them ready. I think Draymond is the number 2 most important player on that team after KD, like we mentioned. I think Draymond is the second most important player on that team, and I think he's going to be the reason that the Warriors win the finals is because of Draymond. And if you remember last year, Draymond got suspended in Game 5. Kevin Love was inactive in Game 3. So to go back into that individual matchup, we really haven't seen that much of it. We only saw 5 games.
And Kevin Love, again, was hurt in 2015.
Exactly. So you've really only seen 5 games of that Draymond and Kevin Love matchup. So will they guard each other? I mean, matchup-wise, it kind of is bad for both of them. Both can guard each other at perimeter and all that. So I think either way, I think both guys aren't going to be dropping 20, 30 a game. I think it's a matter of the other stuff, whether it's rebound, assist, or not even stuff that shows up on the box score, like Draymond setting the screens, Kevin Love's setting good, running the pick and roll to open up other guys. I think both of them are going to have an impact that's not going to show up on the box score, but are definitely instrumental for their team's success.
Yeah, Kevin Love, obviously, like you said, has struggled last year in the finals. And if Draymond guards him, there's really not much for him to do. And the Warriors are just so quick, especially on the defensive side. Kevin Love's game doesn't really translate well to kind of beating the Warriors on the offensive side. But that being said, Love has had a couple of bad rounds in the first couple rounds, but he really picked it up versus the Celtics, averaging 22.6 points and 12.4 rebounds over that series. Now, obviously, he had a better matchup, doesn't have Draymond guarding him. But I think Kevin Love really kind of found his groove during this last series, and I think he'll come out in the finals, and the Cavs definitely need him. I mean, he didn't contribute last year, and the Cavs still won, but this Warriors team is definitely much better. So the Cavs definitely need him. I think he'll be a better contributor. He's not going to average that same 22.6 points and 12.4 rebounds, but I think he'll come out and be a solid contributor for the Cavs. But talking about Draymond, I think he comes out a little bit too aggressive, kind of overzealous, trying to do too much to, especially on the defensive side, kind of being too aggressive. And I think that might kind of hurt the Warriors. That's one thing that definitely goes against Draymond's game, the emotion that he kind of shows. And he's gotten worse every series in this playoffs too. So it's really depending on Draymond, I think, in this matchup. If Draymond comes out, plays efficient, plays good defensive ball, and gets in the Cavs' heads, I think the Warriors have obviously the upper hand in this matchup and will end up being the upper hand in this series. But I think Kevin Love comes out as a nice series, and it really just depends on Draymond how much he can contribute without his emotions getting in the way.
Yeah, I think before we get into that Draymond talk, I think we got to go into who do you think wins it? I mean, it sounds like you might lean towards the Cavs. I'll make my prediction flat out. I think the Warriors win in 5 or 6. I think more realistically 6, but I don't know. I think I'd be comfortable saying 5 as well. I don't know. We can get. I'll let you see. I want to hear what you say first, but there's just so many matchup problems when you look at the Warriors.
I definitely agree. The Warriors are a matchup nightmare no matter where you look when they're on the offensive side. And not the best defensive team. I mean, KD is not the best defender in the world. Steph's not the best defender in the world. But they're definitely quick enough to be a very good defensive team. But that being said, I can't bet against LeBron. I've got to say, the Cavs in 7, they repeat. Kyrie has an all-time series. LeBron comes out, has an all-time series too. And I say the Cavs will win in 7. I don't think there's any way the Cavs can win in 5, 6, or 4, but we all know that's not going to happen. But I think the Cavs in 7, I'm sticking with it.
All right, I think that's really where the debate's going to come in. Is just, I don't know. I look at the teams, and I watch both, and I look at, okay, so if you break it down, Clay and Kyrie, I'd say wash. I think both are going to play good enough defense. They'll both get their points, whatever. Steph on JR. No one can argue Steph's got that matchup. LeBron on KD. Wash, maybe LeBron's got the upper hand because he's LeBron. But not by that much. Draymond and Kevin Love. Draymond's got the upper hand. And then Tristan Thompson, Zaza, neither are going to score that much. It's just about rebounding for that. If you're going to say, okay, we're going to stop KD tonight. We're going to let Clay get his points, but we're going to stop KD tonight. All right, Clay's going to drop 50. Okay, we're going to stop.
You can't just say Clay's going to drop 50. Like,
you've seen games.
We've seen games when he's had a bad shooting night, too.
Yes, but when he gets hot, that's the thing is, any of those players have the potential to drop 50 on any given night. The Cavs have 2 guys, and the Warriors have 3. Maybe 3.5. I think you can put Draymond in there, not to drop 50, but to get a triple-double easy. All I'm saying is 4 out of the 5 Warrior starters are so dynamic that they can make themselves the best player on the floor. And say what you want about Draymond, I think you said that it's one of his worst things is his energy and his emotion. It's one of his best traits, too, is that emotion. And that's why he leads the Warriors. I think, going back to last year, that is the reason that the Warriors blew the infamous 3-1 lead. If he's not suspended in Game 5, I would venture to say they win that and the series is over. Draymond brings so much to that team. And, a lot of the media and everybody hates on Draymond, but I think 29 other teams would love to have Draymond if they could. He brings energy, he brings effort, and he brings, execution of the plays, and just he really does it all for them. There's nothing he doesn't do for the Warriors, and so I'm taking the Warriors. I could see the Warriors winning and no more than 6. That's what I'm gonna say. It could be 4, 5, or 6. I could see it being a sweep. I could see it being one game. That's the thing is it's hard to say a sweep because they've got LeBron and LeBron's LeBron. Don't get me wrong. No disrespect to LeBron at all in this. It's just the Warriors as a team are so good. There's nowhere you can give them and go, okay, we'll let them get that and we'll lock down on this because they will beat you from anywhere. That's why I think the Warriors win. I just don't see. I agree LeBron is phenomenal. He's a top 3 player of all time. The only thing is, does one phenomenal player beat 4 great players? I don't think so.
Well, one thing about the Warriors, you didn't mention Draymond's energy is a lot of times positive, and that's a lot of times when the Warriors are winning.
Mm-hmm.
But, all four of those guys can be inconsistent. Draymond, when stuff gets going bad and he gets frustrated, his emotions get on the wrong side and he is gone. He is just out of it. He cannot play after that. KD, we've seen him have some very bad shooting nights. We saw him blow the 3-1 lead against the Warriors in the conference finals last year.
Mm-hmm.
With the Thunder, he's came up short in many big situations. Klay, he's had plenty of bad shooting nights. And Curry, same thing. If he's not getting open shots, and he's not knocking him down, and if the Cavs play some stout defense, which they don't really do a lot, but if they do get him off his game a little bit, start missing some shots, I think all four of those guys can be inconsistent, and I just don't see the inconsistency as much in LeBron or Kyrie.
I mean, I guess the way I look at it is, are you going to bet on are you going to bet on LeBron, or are you going to bet on four great players? And if you're betting on LeBron, that means, like what you just said, is you're going to bet that KD, Klay, Steph, and Draymond all have a bad night on the same night. We have rarely seen that happen. At least one of them plays good enough to put them in a position to win. They have not gotten blown out in very many games.
I think they need at least two people to have a good game to beat LeBron.
I mean, I think if Klay has a good game, the Cavs have to win. If KD has a game that he can have, or Steph has a game he can have, or if Draymond has a game he can have, I don't think that the Cavs have enough. Once you get rid of LeBron, he can't play all 48 minutes. If he plays 40, with 8 minutes he's out, there's not a debate. The Warriors can keep their 4 stars in at the entire game.
Well, they can't keep all 4.
They can keep one of the 4. They can keep 1 4. One or 2 of the 4.
And 4 other bench players, they're not going to be good.
I would take Sean Livingston, Klay Thompson, Matt Barnes, who's there for, David West, and JaVale McGee over Kyrie, who's there, Iman Shumpert, Derek Williams, Channing Frye, and
Channing Frye doesn't even play anymore.
I don't know. Whoever their 4 and 5 are, I would take Klay and their bench over Kyrie and his bench all day.
The Cavs don't even use their bench anymore. They just don't get tired.
And they're going to have to. The Warriors will wear them out.
They do not have any signs of slowing down yet.
They have not played the war. I think this is my take. If they get to 7 games, the Cavs got it. In one game, you cannot bet against LeBron. Agreed, 1,000%. In a 7-game series, LeBron cannot carry a team for 7 games against a team that has KD, Steph, Klay, and Draymond. There's just no way.
So you think if it goes to 7 games, the Cavs win it?
Yes, I think if it goes to Game 7, the Cavs have got it. No doubt. I don't think it gets there because the Warriors wear teams out.
See, I think if the Cavs go ahead and steal one in Golden State, they have a great opportunity to bring it to 7 games. You don't think so?
I don't think the Cavs are that much better at home than they are away. I think. And you also said something about how the Golden State's not that good of a defensive team. I mean, they're easy a top 5 defensive team when they want to be. I'm
just talking about the individual players. I mean, you don't look at Steph and think first team all defense.
Klay and Draymond are dang near top 7 defenders in the league, though.
I mean, you look at Zaza or JaVale McGee, you look at KD.
Yeah. I
mean, they definitely have some holes in their defense.
Yeah, but I just mean in general, as a unit, when they want to play defense, they are a top 5, top 3 best defensive team in the country. And I mean, according to defensive efficiency, they're number 1. But I mean, just in general, when they want to be, they are one of the greatest defensive teams in the league. But I think with both teams, it's really about who wants it more. Which is like the classic high school, middle school, who wants it more is going to win. But really, it's comes down to it in the NBA Finals. If it comes down to Game 6, Game 7, is LeBron going to be able to want it more than these 4? Is Draymond going to be complacent and try not to do too much? Or is he going to be Draymond and whatever happens, happens? It's going to be an interesting matchup. And if the Cavs win, I'd put it out there that LeBron solidifies himself as having a right to be in the conversation for number 1. I wouldn't put him at number 1, but you can no longer be like, no, there's no way he's not even close to Michael. If he is able to dethrone the Warriors, he is able to be in the conversation to be the greatest player of all time.
So you'd put Michael Jordan 1A, LeBron James 1B?
I think you can debate that. I'm not saying I would. I think I'd still put him at 2. I have him at 3 now in my rankings, but I think you can put him I'd move him at 2 if he can dethrone the Warriors because the Warriors are just that good.
Who's your 2 right now?
Magic Johnson.
So yeah, I have LeBron at 2, and I agree. I think you can move him into 1B if he beats this Warriors team. He still hasn't played long enough, I don't think, to
Agreed.
have all the career accomplishments like points, but at the rate he's going, he should be able to pass Kareem by the end of his career. So I think if he gets the points, wins this finals, LeBron James is the greatest player of all time.
I think, like I'm saying, I don't think he is yet, but I think if it keeps going the way it will, I think he's definitely got the potential to be in there. But to really wrap this up, this series is going to be great. I don't see there being a game of, I think there might be one game of a 10-plus digit score, but besides that, I think it'll be a very good series throughout. I'm excited to watch it. I love watching the Warriors play and watching them go up against such a good team like the Cavs. I think it'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, I just can't wait after this terrible playoffs. I mean, I've been waiting a whole month and a half to see this series. Only 7-game series, and like we talked about earlier, they both were just for the right to get blown out by the Cavs or Warriors. So I'm hoping this one can at least go to 6 or 7, be excited, and keep me interested.
Yeah, for sure. So we are going to end every show now with a top 5 list, kind of like our power rankings. So in honor of the finals, we're going to rank the top 5 best final series in NBA history. Dylan, you want to go first?
Sure. At number 1, I'm going to put the 84 Celtics-Lakers series where the Celtics came out on top. Now, it isn't really necessarily about who came out on top or anything. A 7-game series, it was everything you'd want in the finals, but also it was the beginning of the Bird Magic rivalry in the NBA. They obviously had the rivalry in the NCAA when they matched up in the finals many times, and then they come into the NBA, don't really match up until this 84 series, and really leads the rest of the 80s, the next 5 years, I believe, where the Lakers and Celtics match up in the finals, and leads to some great series in that.
All right, yeah. Let's alternate here. So my number 1 was the last year Cavs upsetting the Warriors and Kyrie's game-winning shot in Game 7. I mean, it had everything you want it to be, from LeBron being dethroned to LeBron rising up and winning. So I think it just had everything you want in a final series, and I think the Cavs and Warriors were my number 1 final series, and this one has the potential to be number 1 if it's just as good this year.
Yeah, I'm going to swap that. That's my number 2 series. I think the reason I didn't have this at number 1 is because we saw the implications, the excitement, the Lakers-Celtics rivalry that the 84 series led to. I think this one has the potential to overtake that one if the Cavs and the Warriors, the LeBron versus Steph and KD, can go longer and be an exciting rivalry for the NBA in the future more than these just last 3 years.
Yeah, agreed. At my number 2, I'm going to go with the Lakers and Sixers in 1980 when Magic Johnson suited up at the center position in Game 7. That's why, like I mentioned earlier, he's my number 2 player in NBA history. He could do it all at every position, was so dominant in all of it, and led the Lakers to a Game 7 victory. So at number 2, I've got the Lakers over the Sixers in the 1980 NBA Finals.
Funny again, I have that as my number 3. Like you said, Magic suiting up at center, iconic game. Magic dominating, coming in at the center position with Kareem out and winning that game for the Lakers. Great series, and again, starting off the 80s dominance of the Lakers.
And at number 3, I've got what you mentioned at number 1, the Lakers-Celtics rivalry in 1984. We've kind of said the same thing, so like you said, Magic, Bird, great series. Celtics come out on top, and definitely this one for the ages.
And my number 4, I have the 2013 Heat versus Spurs. Ray Allen's great shot in Game 6 to bring the Heat back. The fans leaving for the Heat, having to come back in, didn't get back in. But that shot was just insane, leading the Heat back and kind of making that one of the all-time greatest series.
Yeah, I have the same one. I have Heat Spurs, like you said, Ray Allen the shot. The Spurs at Kawhi, Timmy D. All those guys made it just such a great series to watch, and definitely one that will always be remembered as LeBron getting there, but just coming up short again.
And at number 5, I had to get at least one Jordan series in here, so I'm going to throw in his last one, 1998 Bulls Jazz. He hits the shot to win it with 5 seconds left and coming out on top in his last year as a Bull.
Yeah, my number 5, we're finally switching up. I got the Lakers Pistons in 1988 against the Bad Boys right before they went on their back-to-back championship run. Magic dethroned his best friend Isaiah Thomas. If you guys remember, he kissed him before the game, so definitely a good friendship there. But just an overall great series, and so that rounds out my top 5 list with Magic Johnson and the Lakers being in 3 of the top 5 greatest series in the finals.
And so I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Our first one back from our break, and we hope you enjoyed it. A great finals preview. I cannot wait for the finals to begin. Any last words, Jason?
Yeah, make sure you stay tuned for the LeVar Ball episode coming out tomorrow night or mid-afternoon night. It'll be all about LeVar Ball. Do you like him? Do you hate him? What about the shoe price? Too much? It's all coming up tomorrow on the LeVar Ball special. Make sure you listen. Once again, I'm Jason Gandhi.
And I'm Dylan Staggy.
And this was the Sports Sermon, and we're happy to be back. Stay tuned for tomorrow.